Welcome to the Live Life Well podcast for busy women with me, Joanne Bibby. I hope this is a place where you'll find encouragement, inspiration and community to live life well, body, mind and soul. Welcome to the Live Life Well podcast for busy women with myself, Joanne Bibby, and my wonderful guest for today, Frances Ford, who I'm going to introduce you to in a second. But welcome to our community where I hope you find nourishment for your bodies and minds and just peace and joy for your souls. But today we're doing something I think is really important as women, something I hope you will find empowering. We're going to be talking about money. So I have Frances with us today from Major Oak Wealth Management. So Frances, do you want to say hello and tell us a little bit about you and maybe what brought you into this field of work and knowledge?
Hello, thank you for having me. How did I get into this? By accident, really. I was studying law when I was 18, and I got a family friend asking me to go and work for them in an admin capacity initially. And I really enjoyed working for them, really enjoyed seeing the difference that they made to people. And I thought, well, I can carry on and study for another 3, 4, 5 years to qualify as a solicitor, or there's a job here that I really enjoy, can see that I can get through the exams and enjoy the job at the end of it. So I chose to change my path.
Fantastic. And I know you've achieved lots in your short, quite short career. You're still a young woman. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But I know as well as being an amazing financial advisor who I was just saying to you, wasn't I, who's got us a great deal on a fixed term mortgage. If anyone needs to talk to someone about that, we're very grateful for you, Frances. But I know you're also a wonderful mum and you are really invested in taking care of yourself, which I think great. So can you just tell us what living life well means to you?
Yeah, I think it's all about balance, feeling well, enjoying what you're doing, limiting worries, and having a little bit of luxury in every day is important to me too. It doesn't need to be a material thing, but just simple things like having a really nice homemade meal at the end of the day and getting into freshly washed and ironed bedding, that sort of thing, that you can just think, aren't I lucky? Just enjoy those small things. But yeah, balance is a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, so recognizing that all the different areas of your life are important, like your career, your family, but also your well-being and taking care of yourself. And it sounds like gratitude as well, just being grateful for those little things that do make a big difference, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think gratitude, for me, I can do it unconsciously, but if I sit there and think, oh, what 3 things am I really grateful for, then I find it a challenge. So it's nice to just sort of build it in your daily life, isn't it? Look around you, take things in, and
just having that attitude of gratitude rather than making it a thing, just being part of how you live your life.
Yeah.
And I know you're super fit, so I don't know how you fit it all in, to be fair, but have you just done a triathlon or you're training for one? Have you just done one?
Yeah, I did do the London Triathlon in August, only a short distance one because it was my first one. But yeah, I surprised myself. I've only really learnt to swim properly this year, in a lake rather than being taught in a pool. So yeah, swimming in the Docklands was very different to swimming in a nice, still, clean lake or a pool. But I loved it, and I fully intend to do it again and do a longer distance next year. Maybe somewhere more local, or maybe London again. Who knows?
Amazing. And that's something that really inspires me about you, Frances, that you've built such a great career, but you keep challenging yourself, don't you? Which I think something that is really important for our well-being is to take on new challenges and not just sort of grow complacent in where we are in our lives or our health or our well-being, but just keep trying new things, keep pushing ourselves out of our comfort zones. And I think that's something you do really well. So congratulations on doing your triathlon.
Thank you.
Great. And I see that you do that in other areas of your life, like the things that you have achieved, like I mentioned. Is it right that I can't remember exactly, just remind me, blow your own trumpet for a minute.
The youngest woman. We do this a lot, aren't you? So I got chartered financial planner status earlier this year, and then I've also recently got fellowship of the Personal Finance Society, which is the highest qualification you can get with the CII. So yeah, lots and lots of exams, but it's enabled me to niche down a little bit. The exams prior to chartered are quite broad, whereas for chartered I've specialised in later life planning and personal tax. So I'm a little bit more specialised in those areas. Other people, for example, might do business tax planning or investment. I did do investment actually, but you can go more in detail with it.
Just did investment for a bit of fun, just on the side.
Yeah.
Why not? And what was it? You were like the youngest woman in your company to achieve something. What was that? It was a few years ago.
I can't remember.
You definitely were. You were like the youngest woman. Have you found that in the world that you're in? Are there many other women sort of your age at your level, or that have,
No, that there's maybe one who's my age that I can think of, lovely Olivia, who does what I do, but in a different part of Nottingham. There are women who do what I do, but not very many, and they tend to be sort of more my mum's age than my age. It has its advantages and its disadvantages. I've been to meetings before with other advisors and been mistaken for the advisor's PA. I've also been to business events with my husband before, and people have automatically assumed it's his business and I'm just his wife, rather than it being my business. But, all you can do is hold your head high and politely say, this is me, actually. Yeah. I mean, it's not, I think it takes more work to prove yourself, especially if you look young as well. I have had people open the door to me before and go, oh, you're younger than I thought you'd be, or shouldn't you be on a gap year somewhere? I think that's one of the best ones I've had.
Okay, wow. So you're with all of that.
I mean, I am 30 in 2 weeks. I'm not a baby anymore.
No, but you've been doing this for a few years now, haven't you, to be fair? And
yeah, I think I've always just strived to be the best I can be, and gaining such qualifications was important to me early on. Firstly, because I'd never stopped studying yet, and I knew that the goalposts were likely to move. They did move a few years ago, where all of a sudden people had to be level 4, and I thought, well, it's only a matter of time until they're level 6 or above. So I knew that getting my qualifications in was a good way to get ahead. But also, I think it proves that you're committed. You've not just done sort of the basic thing to tick a box and become a financial planner and then left it. So yeah, I think needing to strive and push myself has been really important.
Yeah, and it's not about proving yourself. It's just about going after those things that are important to you, aren't they? And not letting stop you, which is, it's amazing. Like the work that you've done to get to where you are is very inspiring. So I'm really excited to be talking about finances, because I think as women, I just think it's really empowering for us to be in control of our finances and to have options and to know what the options are, I guess. Do you feel like that? I mean, I don't know, we're in the 21st century, but I know sometimes I can be guilty of letting my husband deal with all the boring stuff like the bills and the mortgage, but I know that is not where I want to be. I want to have equal knowledge and control over our finances. So how important is it to you to empower other women to have that knowledge and control?
It's really important, yeah, and it's something that I come across a lot, where I let my husband deal with things sort of for the first few years that we lived together. And actually, you do need to know what's going in and coming out, and you do need to know what your bills are, and how much you need to be saving into your pension. And I think without sort of exploring those things early on, it becomes a lot more difficult later down the line. I mean, when I find ladies that have either decided to go alone, get divorced, or they are widowed and they don't know the first thing about how to manage their money, it's lovely to work with those people, don't get me wrong, and get them on a track where they feel confident in managing their own money, and they feel like they've learned a lot through the process. That to me is that's the ultimate goal. Rather, it's all right sorting their affairs out for them, but really I want them to understand and take hold of their money. I feel like I'm waffling now.
No, not at all.
But yeah, it's so important. It's easy to do while you're younger, and I think it's something that you want to pass on to your kids as well. They need to be able to learn about finances and the value of money and everything like that from both parents, don't they?
Yeah. Yes, especially as mothers of girls, as we are, we want them
Yeah.
to grow up empowered and knowledgeable, because you don't get taught this stuff in school. I wish they did, and maybe that will change. I hope it does. I think that should be definitely in the school curriculum, financial management and planning and budgeting and all that sort of thing. But I think you're right. The longer you leave it, the more overwhelming it can feel, can't it? Or the more you sort of bury your head in this.
Yeah. And a lot of women leave it until retirement as well. So it might not be that there's a change of circumstances yet, but all of a sudden they get into sort of their mid-50s and thinking, I haven't done anything about my pensions yet. I maybe ought to put them all into one. But by that time, they've not maxed out their contributions. Perhaps there might be some missing national insurance contributions for state pension, and it's quite late to be filling those gaps. It can be done, but it's expensive. It's better to do it while you're younger. Studies show that a lot of people who use an advisor are a lot better off in retirement, and a large part of that is about decision making. It's about getting your pensions and investments invested in the right things early on so they can do a lot of the hard work for you. I think perhaps women are more reluctant to get in touch sometimes with an advisor, perhaps fearful of large fees. There's actually, for us, we don't deduct a large fee initially from a pension. We have an early withdrawal charge instead. So in effect, money doesn't need to change hands in that initial transaction. But yeah, retirement planning is probably the biggest thing that women need to get on top of.
Sure, because I know when you're younger, you kind of just don't even think about these things. Like, that's to worry about later. But what you're saying
Yeah.
is, the younger you do it, the more in control you'll feel, and the better impact it's going to have later in life. Because that residual effect, I'm guessing, when there's interest involved and all those things, actually, the younger, the better. And the it takes that stress off as well, isn't it? Because even if you're thinking, oh, don't worry about that now, at the back of your mind, you know that you do at some point. So just have that relief to have that taken care of. I saw you shared a statistic on your social media the other day that people that use a financial advisor are £47,000 better off.
Yes.
Retirement. So that doesn't encourage you to speak to someone like Frances. I don't know what else.
What makes a huge difference, and I'm sure will have been included in that figure, is you can invest your pensions wherever you like. You can try and get the lowest fees possible, but the minute you get the tax bit wrong, you can waive 20 or 40% of what you've made out the door straight away. So actually getting that bit right is absolutely crucial to being better off in retirement. And going back to pensions and women as well, obviously we've all heard of the gender pay gap. But the knock-on effect of that is there's a pension gap as well. If you're getting 3% of your salary paid into a pension, say, for example, and your salary is lower than the male equivalent of you at work, then you're also going to be worse off in retirement. So I think that's really important, knowing our worth a bit more, asking for pay rises, and as a result, getting more in our pensions.
That is a great point. I hadn't really thought about that. There's the pay gap, there's the time you might take out for maternity leave or caring for others, and that all has an impact, I guess, over the years.
Yeah.
So that's all really good and something worth thinking about. And I hadn't thought about the tax thing, so that's a great thing to ask you about. But just thinking about talking back to well-being and our sort of mental and physical health, obviously stress and financial worries can play a massive part in that. We could be looking after ourselves really well, but if we're worried we're not going to be able to pay the bills or cover the mortgage or buy food, that's going to have a massive impact on our health, isn't it? So I just thought it's really timely having you on at the moment with everything that's going on in the world. Just could you share some tips just for how maybe people could save money right now? Obviously, also thinking about the future pensions, but maybe even thinking about sort of mortgage deals, looking at those. Are there things that we can be doing right now just to have a bit of extra money in our pockets, and also just to alleviate a bit of that stress that will allow us then to focus on the more positive things in our lives?
Yeah, I think the first thing that everybody should do is an income and expenditure analysis. I speak to no end of people, particularly with mortgages, and say, what is your expenditure? And they don't know. And sometimes it can be going through a bank statement and realizing, I didn't realize I had that many takeaway coffees, or, I didn't realize how many times I popped to the co-op at great expense for extras that could have bought on the Aldi shop if I'd have planned a little bit better. So doing that is the first step, really. Another thing I'd recommend doing is building sinking funds. So a lot of people, they'll pay their car insurance, for example, annually. So then they don't put it in their budget for monthly, but they still need to find that money. So if you know your car insurance is £600 for the year, say, put £50 a month away. Obviously, you have to have the spare money to be able to do that, but it means that when that time's coming around, you've not got a shock. So that's useful to do, as well as building an emergency fund. Again, probably not the best time to be mentioning saving for an emergency fund, because now might be a time for some people where you would use that. Another thing, remortgages coming up. I would recommend looking for those sooner rather than later. Speak to an advisor, see whether you can remortgage slightly early. By early, I don't mean incur penalties, but I mean if you've got the option to select a rate 3 months prior to the end of your deal, then select it at the 3-month point. I think at the moment, we're seeing a lot of rates over 3%, which if we look back at the last couple of years, it seems really, really high, but actually in the grand scheme of things, long term, that is still a low interest rate, and it could well just continue to increase. Another thing to review is your protection policy. So if you've got insurances, that's great, well done, because most people's cat or dog is insured for more than they are if they're poorly. But actually make sure that they meet your needs, make sure that you're not paying too much. For example, income protection, a lot of people just insure the maximum amount of their income that they can, and that's great if you need that amount of cover. But if you only need £1,500 a month to get by, don't pay for cover that's going to pay you out £2,500, because you hope you're not going to need it, and the cost difference is quite big. So it's important to review those. And remember as well, when speaking to an advisor, we do just review as well. And if the best thing to do is nothing, then we'll say. Well, most of us will anyway.
It's a good one like you, Frances. You'll be honest.
Yeah. Yes. Other things you can do to save money right now. Personally, we've swapped to shopping at Aldi and saved about £100 a week compared to shopping at Tesco for a couple of meals and loads of bits that didn't make a meal, and then doing Gusto or HelloFresh. Don't get me wrong, loved Gusto and HelloFresh, made life easier, but that is a lot of money a month to be saving.
Yeah, they're kind of luxuries, aren't they? Things that we probably can't be affording at the moment, but maybe hopefully in the future again. But they're such good tips. Like I love getting just real practical tips that we can just get our teeth into and apply to our lives quickly. And this is what this podcast is about, just grabbing those bits of wisdom off each other that we can implement, and that'll make our lives a bit easier and better.
Hopefully it's not too dry.
No, this is good. It's really important, because it does affect our well-being, doesn't it? We might not love talking about finances or want to even think about them, but we feel so much better when we do, don't we? Like you say, if we sit down and
Absolutely.
do earned income, and just it's about feeling more in control, I think, rather than thinking it's all out of control, because that's a horrible feeling. But seeing where you can save those little bits of money, you'll be really proud of yourself, won't you? I know my thing is definitely takeaway coffees. So we've got a coffee machine at home that makes really nice coffees, and it's much cheaper. So it's not about losing all your luxuries, is it? It's just thinking, how can I just
exactly. Yeah. Another thing that's really important that I didn't mention is that looking at your situation, even though it may not be what you want to see. For example, for a lot of people, that's credit cards or loans, and it can be quite overwhelming for them to have a look at that. But like you say, taking control of that is really important. And actually, can you switch that credit card to interest free? Can you restructure that loan and get it at a lower interest rate? Something that I see a lot of people bury their heads in the sand with, but actually often you can make the situation better.
Yeah, and I think that's so great that you can come alongside people and help them with that, because part of it sometimes is just feeling alone, like say, and overwhelmed, which is a horrible feeling and can make you go to a really dark place, I think, when your financial concerns are building up. But to those people like you that people can talk to, that understand these things, that aren't going to, like you say, charge a fortune. You gave me a free consultation just to chat with you, and it's just like that feeling of you're sharing that burden, and there's hope, isn't there? Like there's very rarely a hopeless situation where there's nothing you can do, but the more we bury our heads, it's the more awful it gets, doesn't it?
Exactly.
I think these are great tips, and just like if we put all these in place, we'd probably all be saving a couple £100 a month, and that could be enough just to our heating bills this winter. I heard a tip the other day to turn down your water temperature on your water boiler. And I didn't realize ours has been like full blast since we moved in. Our water is always boiling hot, but it doesn't need to be. If you're having to add cold water to your hot water, then your hot water is too hot, isn't it?
True, yeah.
It's quite expensive to keeping it at a really hot temperature. So we've turned it down by about a third, and it's still really warm. We'll probably can turn it down a bit more. So
it's probably safer with kids as well, not to be burning yourself.
Exactly. And our shower is so powerful. It was like going everywhere. So it's a lot better. So just sharing these bits of wisdom that we can implement, I think is so helpful. And another question I would love to hear from you. You've answered it a little bit, but maybe there's something specific you can share with us. So I was just thinking, like, of you and your little girl, you've got such a lovely relationship, but what advice would you give her as she maybe like sort of grows into teenage years and becomes a young woman? How would you advise her to sort of take control and be knowledgeable about her finances?
Probably to save as soon as possible, invest as soon as possible, to let the compound interest do the work for her. Even if, she's 16, she's got a Saturday job and it's £10 a week or something like that she can put aside. It would make a big difference in the long term. I also think that that budgeting is just absolutely essential to know about at that sort of age. And I also think that the more she can do without needing to access credit in those late teenage, early 20s, that would be the best position for her to be in. I mean, I got to the point where I was 17, 18, wanted my first car. I didn't have the money for a first car, so I financed my first car. It was something like £200 a month, and that's all well and good. But when you think what you could save and put aside, and be driving something much older, which it seems all the wrong way around, really, because you need more money to purchase an old car than you would to finance a new one. But long term, you'd be so much better off with an older car, in those sort of uni years, if you like. Yeah, I think to just educate her about finances and the importance of starting a pension, and to put a big girl pants on and ask for pay rises and be a little bit audacious. I think that would get you a long way financially.
Yes, I love that. Yes. Fighting for our rights and getting what
we're
worth. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's probably the best thing we can teach our daughters, is to know their worth, isn't it? Because
yes,
if they know their worth, then they'll make good decisions in life. So I think that's a perfect answer to that. So it's sort of having that patience and that forward planning to not, we've got quite what's the word? Our society's become quite instant gratification, don't we? Want that shiny new thing straight away. And we've forgotten how to save for things and plan ahead. But I think if we can instill that in ourselves first, and then in others, to work hard and save until you can afford the thing, then you won't have that debt and stress hanging over you. It makes a massive difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, something simple that we do with her now, when her grandparents come around, they'll give her pennies for a money box. And when she's got money in her money box, we'll let her spend it on, sometimes she wants to spend it on a snack, or sometimes it's a toy. But if we take her to Smith's and we'll say, well, you've got £5 to spend, or however much, and she picks something up, we'll say to her, no, that you've not got enough money for that one. That's, Mummy and Daddy will get you that one for Christmas, but that's not how much money you've got now. And perhaps she's a little bit young, really, to understand it in full, but you've got to start somewhere, haven't you?
Yeah, no, that's great. We're trying to teach our girls that too. They get like £5 a month pocket money now because they're a little bit older, and they're learning that lesson now. They can have something little now, or you can save it and have £10 next month and get something really good. Most of the time they can't wait, but at least you're aren't you? You're giving them the idea that if you save, it's worth it and you can get more for your money. So it's just those small seeds, isn't it? And I think if we can all learn these lessons, it'll be helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, amazing. Oh, Frances, it's been so good to chat about this. And I just hope that the women listening just feel that their burden's a little lighter tonight, because we're all feeling the weight of and strain of what's going on in the world just now. And it's affecting all of us, I think, wherever we're at in life. But just to know that you're not alone. There are options. There's people like you, people can talk to find out about their options, to help us now to ride out this storm we're in, and also to plan better for our future and think about the long-term picture. And I think it's a lovely thing to think about life post working and retirement, because that's part of your life you should really enjoy, isn't it? And something you've worked hard to get to. So I think to think about that, again, that comes from knowing your worth, isn't it? That you deserve a time of rest and enjoyment with lots of options, not scrimping and saving. To know that that is a possibility, and so that people can talk to you about that sort of thing is really
I'm working with somebody at the moment that's come to retirement, and they've always wanted to buy a VW camper, and that's exactly what we're doing. And it's great when someone's got a tangible goal and they've looked forward to it for so long. And I guess it is life-changing. It sounds a little bit dramatic or cliche, doesn't it? But it is life-changing for some people, and they've looked forward to do it for so long and worked really hard, and we can make it happen.
Yeah, that must be such a lovely part of your job. And someone comes to you with like a dream or a goal, and you're like, we can do that.
Yeah.
Something maybe written off, but actually there are ways of
doing
it. Amazing. Well, everyone needs to come and speak to you, obviously, Frances. So please tell us, if someone would like to come and have a chat with you and explore their options, where is the best place for us to find you?
I'm having a new website, actually. I do have one up at the moment, but it's just about to be redone with my new branding. So it's www.majoroakwm.co.uk. Or you can find me on Instagram or Facebook at majoroakwm. Or you can give me a call. All initial appointments, we can do a chat over coffee, which could be telephone, Zoom, or in person, and just talk about whether it's the kind of thing I can help with before you sort of tell me all the ins and outs of all your personal details. A lot of people prefer that option, to sort of talk it through very informally first. But yeah, get in touch. No cost to have an initial chat.
Oh, fantastic. And I think it is nice to talk to another woman, isn't it? Like, no offense against middle-aged men in suits that you would normally pick. We love them too, if you're listening, you're welcome here.
Some of them.
Yeah, some of them. I think you're so approachable, and you just listen without judgment and see how you can help people. So that I love that. That's been amazing, Frances. So just for fun, I like to ask all my guests to end on telling us, if it was your very last meal on earth, what would it be? Because we love food here. We're all about nourishing ourselves and enjoying life. So what would you choose for your final meal on the earth?
It would have to be a roast of some kind, probably beef, good helping of horseradish, homemade Yorkshires, and a pudding of some description, probably something chocolatey.
Oh, nice. Roasts and Yorkshire puddings have been a bit of a theme in this question. But have I not? Because it's like just the perfect comfort food, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It tastes like home and comfort and yumminess. Amazing. Well, friends, it's been so good to chat tonight. I think this has been really helpful and, like I say, empowering and just reassuring. And I hope that's the message we're giving out to you all that are listening, that there are options and there is always hope, and you're not alone in all of this. We're all doing this crazy journey together of life. So Frances, thank you so much for your time. It's been so good to chat to you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, such a pleasure. Thank you for sharing your time and wisdom with us, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening today. I really hope you've had some inspiration to look after yourself, body, mind and soul, and feel as well as you deserve to do. Please remember to subscribe and share this podcast if it's been helpful for you. And I'll see you again soon with another episode and some more amazing guests. Take care.